It's important to note that every department has its own cadence, a pace at which it's appropriate to have meetings. And I'd like to talk about that for a short period of time. In a previous video, I outlined what a normal reporting process looks like with a combination of tactical, daily or weekly meetings, monthly meetings where we look at the implications and make systemic decisions, and then strategic meetings in which we continually practice agility in focusing the organization on the latest issues. The actual drumbeat of these meetings depends on the stress of your organization and the cadence. What we do know is consistency is super important. So we often see organizations that do their OKR meetings in occasional sort of fits and starts. And the dilemma is when we take a look at their performance, this set and forget process leaves OKRs with no follow-up and sends a strong message to the organization that this is not important compared to other things. And it deteriorates, not only reduces, but deteriorates the teamwork and collaboration. People learn they've got to fend for themselves. In fact, in a situation where the meeting cadence is somewhat better, what we call a lack of focus, again, this is where meetings get postponed for other events and so on, it shows a low discipline and consistency. It indicates a lack of commitment, in fact, suggests that anything else that comes up that would cause us to postpone a meeting is more important than this meeting. And again, the standard approach we see is people in the organization just kind of hang low and wait for this OKR fad to pass. Of course, in the ideal world, we see that regular cadence, whether for your department is weekly, bi-weekly, and we see that sustained focus gives you sustained benefits. It sends a message that this is how we run the business, and people get used to it. And it drives higher employee participation and engagement. And it becomes almost a daily leadership habit. What we find is in these environments, as new people join the team, they're introduced into this management process as opposed to continually disrupting it by bringing habits from their previous organizations. So again, the message here is that regular cadence, whatever that cadence is important. Stick to that cadence. And the results speak for themselves. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, gosh, that's a lot of meetings. And it is. If we add up what I've described, if you have, let's say, a daily meeting that's 20 minutes, that consumes 80 hours a year. If you have a 90-minute weekly meeting, that takes away another 75 hours. If you have a 2-hour monthly meeting, again, that grabs another 24 working hours. And if you've got a quarterly meeting that takes 3 hours, grabs another 12, adds up to almost 200 hours. Now, the good news is, given a standard working year, you've got about 2,000 hours to play with. In other words, it takes about 10% of your time to make sure the other 90% is productive. So that's a great investment in time, performance results indicate. If you want to layer on top of that, in some cases, if you are a middle manager, you might end up with more meetings because you've got to have the meetings where people report up to you, and then a second meeting where you report up to your upline individual. So that number can increase, but no matter how you look at it, it's a small percentage compared to the total working hours. And productivity goes up by over 20%, so it's a great payback. Now, how do you figure out what your department cadence might meet? This is the sort of a simple framework. So ask yourself this question. Are issues emerging faster than the team can process them? In other words, if every time you meet, there's another 10 problems that are still outstanding, you probably need to meet more frequently. Or do employees feel the need to be more connected? Again, you might need to meet more frequently. And that's why in the work from home period that we had right after COVID, we ended up meeting more because people feel the need to be more connected. In many cases, you need a team in order to solve problems. You can't solve them on your own, and therefore you need to meet more frequently. And in other cases, work is actually done in the team environment. So again, those are all indications you might want to meet more frequently. This is all a big build-up to what I think is the best test. The best test is just this. Ask yourself this. If you missed 2 meetings, could you still predict how the business is performing? If so, then meet less frequently. If you miss a meeting and you've lost complete track of how things are performing, you need to meet more frequently. And then my final point is just experiment. You're never going to get it exactly correct, and you may find the cadence shifts across the year as you hit a busy season or when events happen, such as a bunch of trade shows, a bunch of product launches, whatever that might be. So just pay attention and feel comfortable adjusting the cadence to suit the business needs as they unfold. We'd love to share more of our ideas with you. There are probably about 300 YouTube videos that we've recorded that you can find on our YouTube page. We also write a continuous series of blogs about OKR and related topics. Or feel free just to give us a phone call or email me. Happy to have a conversation about any of these topics. Talk to you soon.